All right, guys, I'm just going to go and say it. I like the Berhalter rehire. I know this is not the most popular opinion, but I think that Berhalter had us right where we needed to be right before the World Cup. Now, perhaps the moment at the World Cup that we were hoping for didn't quite show up, but at the same time, let's remember that we didn't qualify for the 2018 World Cup. And then we had an incredible cycle where we won a lot of our local tournaments in our confederation. We beat Mexico, and we were the undisputed kings of CONCACAF. We still are. And this is all thanks to Berhalter. We got all the dual nationals, most of the dual nationals that we wanted and needed. And we have a very competitive team, a young team that made it out of the round of 16, and a team that is very competitive and positioned to compete at home. And I think that following and giving this continuity to the cycle was not necessarily a bad thing. Now, I understand things got shaky at the end, and the Reinas, went after Berhalter, and we had this whole brouhaha, whatever. But now we have a situation where there's a bit of a clean slate. And let's not forget that the players were asking for Berhalter to come back. Pulisic and others came out and specifically asked and said that they wanted Berhalter back. And so I trust the players. I trust this team. And I have full confidence that Berhalter is the right man for the job right now. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying necessarily that I'm 100% right on this. I'm not willing to take this to my grave. I am willing to give this guy the benefit of the doubt. I think he's earned it. Yes, he struggled a little bit with in-game management, but let's see if he can improve and do a good job with Copa America. Copa America is the test. That's what we'll know if this is the right man for the job. And it's at least worth it for us to keep him, at least to Copa America. I understand that if Copa America goes wrong, whether it's Berhalter or if it had been anyone else, we're going to have to break. And that would put us in a huge disadvantage because we are going to be in a situation facing the World Cup in just 2 years without a lot of tests beforehand. But at the time right now, players are asking for him. He got us back to the World Cup. He beat Mexico every time we played against them after his first Copa Oro Gold Cup loss. But since then, we were just winning, and we were able to create a lot of depth. Now, I do think that a lot of our past players have served their purpose. Players like Aaron Long, players like Paul Arriola, even players like DeAndre Yedlin. I don't foresee these players being back, knock on wood, but who knows? You never know. I would be eating my words if that were to happen. At least on this first call-up, it seems like things are looking up. It seems like we are definitely putting all of the eggs in the basket of the younger players, excluding perhaps maybe Tim Rim here. But we are definitely looking beyond your Christian Roldans and your Aaron Longs. And it's interesting that the main focus on Berhalter last cycle was to change the way the world views American soccer. That was the theme. That's what the players were accomplishing. It seems like they were on the same page regarding this topic. And I think by all accounts, this was successful. I do think that the world, particularly after not qualifying to the World Cup, I think the world sees the United States with favorable lenses. I do think that it is not uncommon to see some top quality American players in the best leagues, in the best teams, and performing at a high level. It's also not unlikely to see the United States perform mano a mano against the best teams in the world. We saw it against England, and I think it's quite evident for the world. But Weston McKennie, in the press conference that was held a few days ago, said that the motto, the theme for this new era has changed. And now it's to change soccer in America forever. Now, this is perhaps when you would want to do that because we are going to be hosting the World Cup. And we have to seize this opportunity the way the U.S. men's national team did in 1994. because of this World Cup, we now have the MLS. We have the high standard that we've had in World Cup after World Cup, performing sometimes at a very high level, like we did in 2002. We have academies in MLS, and this is all just a part of what it meant to bring the World Cup to home soil, and to have expectations that go beyond just participating or qualifying for the World Cup. Now we have a different opportunity. Our team has a lot more experience. Our program is way more prepared. We have a lot of depth, and we should be aiming at least at a semifinal, which is why if we don't reach the semifinal of a Copa America, I say that we are in big trouble, whether it's Berhalter or anyone else. And so with that comes the first test. And it seems like Greg Berhalter is on the right track here, because he is calling up the best team that he can. Yes, he did call Kramaski, that is rubbing off of Lionel Messi's spotlight. But he's also a dual national. And I'm not saying we should do this predatory cap ties against dual nationals, but it is important to introduce a lot of these players to the system, to break them in. We also were able to get a player like Lund, who has filed a one-time switch and is now going to be vying for the backup spot behind Anthony Robinson on the left as a left back. So I'm encouraged by the call-up from Greg Berhalter. And I do think that even though Oman and Uzbekistan are perhaps not the top quality opposition that we would like to face in preparation to Copa America, we have to understand that more teams are going to qualify. These cycles that are going to be put in place in order to qualify for different countries around the world are going to start earlier. Originally, we were supposed to play Brazil and Argentina, but because they started their qualification process early, we had to settle with Oman and Uzbekistan. Now, it's going to be an interesting game. The key here is to start with the best team, to put our best foot forward, because we're not going to have a lot of opportunities. And regardless of who is, being called up, we need to make sure that those players are on the field, that the best players are getting playing time, that they are used to playing together, because once Copa America is here, there is no time to waste anything. And so it is going to be an interesting test. I would like to bring up what I think is going to be the starting lineup. And perhaps by the time you watch this episode, it may be that the game already passed. But I still want to sort of hone down on this subject of playing the best team. And I think Berhalter really doesn't have a choice. There is a lot of dissent amongst U.S. soccer fans. People don't seem to look favorably on Greg Berhalter. And I think he understands this. And I think the Federation understands this. And if we start with a shaky start, if we have a tough few games, if we are not decisive, if we don't feel like there is an improvement from Greg Berhalter 1.0 to Greg Berhalter 2.0, there's going to be a lot of pressure on this coach. So here it is. I think we're going to start with no surprises, with Matt Turner in the back, with Tim Ream and Chris Richards as the center backs. We're going to have Jedi Robinson on the left and Dest on the right. That's what I think is going to be our four-man back line. I think the first surprise is going to be Luca De La Torre as the backup to Tyler Adams as the number 6. I do think that we haven't been able to consolidate this backup number 6. And even judging by the Nations League, maybe we don't necessarily need a backup per se, because if Reyna's healthy, you can put Reyna as the number 10 and then bring Musa and McKinney a little bit down with this shared responsibility to cover that area. But I do think if we're going to look for someone that is going to back up Tyler Adams. I think Luca De La Torre is our best shot, and I'd like to see him be tested with this midfield. I think then we're going to have Musa and McKinney right above Luca De La Torre playing as number 8s. And then we're going to have Pulisic on the left, Way on the right, and Balogun up top. That's what I think is going to happen. Now, it may be that things change. It may be that Greg Berhalter wants to do other things, but I really don't think so. I do think that we're going to put what Berhalter thinks is his best team, and he's going to try to silence the opposition as much as he can. I know this is impossible, but he's going to do his best to try to have the best team on the field and to try to get results early. Like I said, momentum is going to be everything. We had a pretty bad Gold Cup, but that was not the team that is perhaps going to go to Copa America. The Copa America team played Nations League. We won. It was with an interim head coach, but it's still the same backbone and it's still the same staff